And welcome back, everybody, once again to the PCS Summer Split. Of course, I am Pyrotechnics. He is still Clement Chu. And Clement, we've had some interesting games today. We're going to have a couple of more. I'm excited, but before we get into that, I do want to give a quick shout-out to our sponsors. Of course, you can see them on the bottom of the screen. They are CTBC Bank, China Airlines, and of course, Chunghwa Telecom. Thank you so much for helping us run this show. And of course, the organizers, I want to give them a shout-out to Riot Games, Garena, Carry Live. You all make it so possible, quite literally possible, to make it happen. So thank you as well.
And I want to thank all the teams for giving a really, really quick day so far. It's only been 4.5 hours, but we're already done.
It's fast.
Actually, 3.5 hours. We're already done with 4 games and going on to the last 2. So that bumps up my hourly rate. Thank you all for your participation in the speed run.
Excellent. Now, of course, this match that we got coming up next is going to be Liyab taking the stage once more, but they will be facing off against the Hong Kong Attitude. And I'm excited to see who comes out on top in that one. Now, HKA will always have a special place in my heart, Clement, and that's because it's the team that Shawi coaches. Old Singapore Sentinels player from way back when I first started watching League of Legends. So that's kind of like, that's my little inroad, you know, way back in the GPL days.
I'm sure Chowie, if he knows that, he will send you a warm thank you note and welcome you to the PCS. Like, he's definitely a stand-up guy like that. And he is running a very new squad. We'll take a look at them later, but for now, Liyab Esports.
Yep, we got Spelts up in the top lane. Dodoi, once again in the jungle. Kanji, of course, starting today in the mid lane. Dawn and Aiden will round us out. Now, Liyab had a rough one, but there were glimmers of hope in that game. There was some solid play in it, and I want to see if they can slowly refine that, turn it into something that will generate them some wins here. Do you think they can do it up against HKA today, Clement?
I do have faith in them, actually. I think the big story and the big headline for Liyab is they're not actually throwing out the entire early game anymore. Like, even Don has to chuckle at that statement. But honestly,
Don just need to chill out a little bit, though. I don't want to see no more hop-ins on that Tristana into certain death.
Yeah, I do think that Don has been sort of the member that's been caught out quite a few times, and of course, I think Dodoi is also sort of in that category, but if they can clean up those 1 or 2 big mistakes in the mid to late game, I think they're actually fine. You know, their drafts had made sense. They have played out early games fairly well. They've not always out-executed the opponent, but they've stayed close throughout, and, you know, that's just more than we can say about their spring splits so far.
That's true. Let's take a look at their opponents. It is Hong Kong Attitude, Rock up in the top side, Kongye in the jungle, Hong Suo in the mid, Eminem, and Slaytrue in the bottom.
Really new lineup, really new roster coming in here. They did drop Bivin and Patience and Wing in the offseason, so 3 new players coming in onto the roster here. And so far, what we've seen from Game 1 is that they like to play really, really fast tempo games. We had the Jace coming out for Rock. We had Hong Suo. I think it was actually Jace mid. So we saw a very, very aggressive game plan. Unfortunately, they were going against PSG, and they didn't really get the ganks and the early skirmishes that they wanted to. But it's a pretty good signal that they are in line with the times, and they do. You should expect them to play things like the Xin Zhao. You should expect them to go for some very aggressive lane-dominant champions and try to play priority and especially try to invade with Kongyu.
Got to play off of that top side if they can, and we'll see if the invades end up working out well for them up against the side of Liyab Esports. And, well, for Liyab, you know, I mean, their jungler is their leader. That's where a lot of the calls are flowing through, so we'll have to see if Dodoi is able to really counteract that in the early stages of the game or just at any stage, in all honesty. But, you know, normally in this meta, I wouldn't talk as much about the bottom matchup being like an interesting one to watch, but I feel like after seeing Dawn, I'm like, you got to keep a wary eye down there because someone's going to die. The question is just who.
That's a very poetic way to put it, and for the most part, it has been Dawn going down. We'll see if they can switch their gears and change that fate. For now, straight into the Band Pigs. Very interesting here. Liyab going straight for the Ziggs and Thresh, reading Hong Kong Attitude as a more of a hyper carry bot lane team, which they want to prevent.
Standard jungle bans for HKA as well, the Xin Zhao and the Nocturne removes. So we'll see if Liyab continue trending towards the bottom. No, they removed Viego.
Okay, interesting. We still have a couple power picks up here. I've been kind of curious, but PCS really doesn't play that much Renekton. Renekton in the LPL is still, you give me a Renekton, I'll play a Renekton. Great early game, flex potential, but in the PCS, it's a pretty rare sight. And this Gwen might have some problems here. Spelt's taking the Gwen first rotation, and Set is the classic answer to Gwen in the top lane. A very difficult matchup, as he can definitely just throw it down inside the mist itself and still come out ahead.
Yeah, Set's definitely been overlooked by a number of top laners today, but he makes an appearance as well. Kongyi grabbing the Diana, and Godai instantly just picking up that Lee Sin. Kanji on the LeBlanc. So both teams really know what they want right now. Not a lot of time passing between those lock-ins. And, you know, for Liyab, this is going to be the second go-around for Kanji's LeBlanc. We'll see if it works out for him. But we have seen this Lissandra as an answer before. Wouldn't be surprised if Hongsuo picks it up.
Yep, another classical counter pick here. And I think we just saw TG actually give Kanji a high five when they locked in that LeBlanc. That's pretty interesting to see here. Kanji did have a pretty decent laning phase from what we saw in the earlier game today, but you know, there wasn't much of a mid-late game to play around. Now Liyab has to look for their bottom lane, and I think Hong Kong Attitude, I'm not really sure what they take away from bottom lane. Liyab doesn't really prioritize bottom lane that much, so you know, kudos to them for getting all their power picks in the first rotation. In the meantime, Liyab is going to continue to pinch down on Eminem and Slaytrue. Eminem is the main damage dealer of this team. He does have a knack for hyper carries, so I think we might be seeing the Ezreal gone as well.
I would expect that one too, but this time HKA are taking the time just a little bit on that last ban. So with the Karma removed from the pool, what is that last choice? Do they continue sticking? It's a Lulu, okay. Trying to prevent like something crazy like a Juggernaut maybe.
Pretty interesting picks right here. I don't really see Aiden on these. I feel like Liyab as a team comp probably wants to go into engage support since they have more skirmish potential. But we'll see how they round out the draft. For Hong Kong Attitude to be denying those two Enchantress supports. Really rare to see that coming out. Slaytrue, you know, probably an engage support himself, and they do have the sort of the Wombo combo set up already. Very strong with the Moonfall. You have the Frozen Tomb. All of this is AoE slow, AoE crowd control, so I think they're going to layer that on top of it even further. Go for something like the Leona that has engage, and you know, that could leave... Oh, Kallista's already banned. I would say Kallista would be the perfect draft here, just to, you know, get even more engage, but don't have that option.
Nope, you do have the Leona for the engage though, and you know, what I like about this Hong Kong Attitude side is like, it's kind of hard to see a target that Kanji can delete, right? I mean, like, everyone's tanky or has sustain. Maybe Kongyu?
It's very difficult. Like, Kongyu typically builds into Zanya's second item, so even then it's not very easy to get ahead of the Diana. You're mainly looking at the early game, where LeBlanc and Lee Sin can throw out some pretty crazy stuff. Oh, good.
Clement, it's a spring special. We got a Kaisa back for Dawn.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Ezreal left up and available. There we go.
I actually really like this comp from Liyab because it's a very straightforward comp. You get a kill, and you just run people down one by one. Kaisa is great at following up on targets that you have crowd control in the front line. She can Killer Instinct directly into the back line. So if they can get the picks, they can avoid the Wombo combo from Hong Kong Attitude completely. And Eminem, without any surprise, does go for Ezreal. That's kind of foregone conclusion at this point. You know, just stay safe in the back, let the frontliners, let Set lead the charge, do his thing, and you just follow up with a bit of area of effect yourself.
Yeah, I like this last-minute change-up here for Liyab. Is Dawn on this Kaisa? Now the question is, can he maybe not go in on every single chance he gets? That's always the question to ask. But if they do pull it off, I mean, there's some good team fight potential now added into the mix.
I'm not aware of any other way to play a Kaisa. Of course you go in every chance you get.
Well, I guess that's my answer. Fair, Clement. Very fair. I'm glad that they picked a champion that agrees with what Dawn wants to do, because that clearly is the most important thing, right?
Yeah. I think it fits the comp perfectly. Honestly, this is a really fun comp to see. it really is about can Kanji actually leave lane, so I think the jungle duel will be very important. You do have quite a sizable lead early on as a duelist versus Diana, who needs a bit of time to actually scale up and get that AP sort of ramping up and going. So Liyab actually have a clear window to have a dominating early game. The only lane I'm very, very worried about is that top lane. Set is a hard counter into Gwen. If you look up the solo queue ratings, it's a 55 to 45 matchup, which is very, very much in Rock's favor. And Rock has been known as one of our best solo killers into the top side. So Dodo not only has to take
big skirmishers.
Yeah, it's pretty much Liang and Rock and Rest. These three guys, all of them with the R sound to start off. So you have to be aware of that trio.
Well, we'll have to see what happens here as the teams take to the Rift. Liyab looking to try and go 1-1 on the day. Hong Kong Attitude, they've been warming up, just ready for this one matchup they have. And, you know, that always is a little bit of a difference, too. We have so many games being played, some of the teams playing, too. You have to wonder if the preparation gets a little bit split on an individual day. Hong Kong Attitude only had to prepare for Liyab.
True. The prep is definitely quite hard, and I will say that it's kind of in stages. Like, for a team for PSG, most of their regular season, the scrims might even be more important. I know this sounds kind of like bad, but for PSG, probably scrimming against Korean teams or the LPL is a little bit more important. And for the top teams, I know they do scrim against a lot of these top regions as well. Taking a look at the runes here, nothing too special. We do have Conquerors coming out on Kongyue. Still pretty much the norm here, and just 2 aftershocks for the engages. I do expect this to be a little bit slow for Hong Kong Attitude's side. They do have a lot of champions like Diana and LeBlanc that, not LeBlanc, sorry, Lissandra, that pretty much are just there to wait till 6, and that's going to give some openings for Liyab if they want to go for some jungle invades.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Dodo will be pretty happy about. If he's able to pull it off. I mean, you do want to try and neutralize Kongyue as much as possible so this Diana has much slower time, but we will keep our eyes on that top. As you mentioned, it's such a tough lane for Spelts right now, and Brock should be able to get a lot of damage off, but if Spelts can stay safe and not give over a lot of kills, this Gwen can still be pretty powerful throughout the map. It's just not going to have as much of an easier time. And this is the thing, you can't cut a rock with scissors. Everybody knows that, Clement. It always wins.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. True. Exactly. Well said. As Hongsuo does get the aftershock here, trades back the Electrocuca, still comes out quite favorable throughout that entire trade, and we can see Kanji already down a potion, so not doing so hot for Kanji here. We've actually seen him mess up a couple of these LeBlanc trades in the early game. But, you know, going back into the top lane matchup, the reason why Set has such a good time is he can actually break up the fight whenever he wants to. And for Gwen, she likes to stay in the fight as long as possible. She wants those snip stacks charged up to full. She needs to hit all of her needlework procs to get maximum damage. While a lot of the times what Set can do is, if he wants to disengage, he just throws out the showstopper and he walks away. So it's this sort of a matchup where if Set wants to push his advantage, he can. And if he doesn't want to stay in range, he can also just disengage. So it's pretty difficult for the Gwen without any help to come out ahead in this matchup.
Yeah, so I do wonder if Dodoi doesn't try to get involved at some point in this lane, but it's just as likely that Kongyue might do that. In fact, both junglers are on the top side right now, and you can see that Kongyue was thinking about maybe snipping in there into that jungle and maybe contesting a buff, but Blue's already gone, so he's fine with just moving his way up, and it's a very safe shove that Rock is doing right now. Look at the ward coverage all the way through the river for Hong Kong Attitude.
You gotta love this coming in from Kongyue. He really knows how to accentuate the counter matchups that they selected for themselves, making sure that he can perma-shove 24/7. And the thing about Gwen is that she doesn't really provide any crowd control early game, so even if he's pushing like that, it's pretty difficult for him to actually be punished, especially with that lane coverage. We are still going to see Dodoi possibly try here as he gets the Warthog.
Ooh, the ward expired in the river, so Rock doesn't see this one coming. He'll only be able to walk away. Sonic Wave does connect. A little bit of damage dealt out there, and he's not going to force him back. And that's the thing, is like on top of everything else in Set's kit, he's also a big beefy boy.
Yeah, this is an overstay coming in from Dodoy. Now, you do see junglers, they tend to try to go for, ooh.
Oh, we're talking about a bot lane move at right there.
Okay, never mind.
Slater takes a little bit more damage, but Eminem's able to dish it right back. You know, it's been a quieter bot lane. I think I may have gotten a little overhyped when I saw that Kai'Sa, and I was like, okay, Dawn. But, you know, he doesn't have his dash yet, so give him time.
Yeah, going back to the jungle point, we have seen junglers overstay a little bit more, throw out more level 3 ganks because of the longer reset timer. Camps now respawn 15 seconds later than the previous patches, but still Dodoy misses his corrupt timer camp, and if you look at where Kongyue is on the map, both of these guys went from bot to top, and Kongyue is already about 3 camps ahead, moving into the top side already. So that top lane gank was extremely costly coming out on the side for Liyab.
And it didn't really get much for Speltz either, right? I mean, he gets a little bit of pressure relieved, maybe starts to pick a bit more up in farm, maybe gets a decent back timing. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And Dota is just kind of trying to like stop what could turn into a bad snowball up there, but you need to be able to do more than that. You need to be able to pick up a kill, or at least pick up a summoner spell so that you can come back in later. And now that Rock's got level 6, he can basically just do what you were talking about earlier, and anytime he feels like it, check out a showstopper and just walk away.
Does have a really, really good slow on that ability, and you can also take Gwen out of her mist if need be, so there's a lot of different ways you can use that ability. And as we're seeing right now onto the top side, Diana, with that extra momentum, is just going to be able to ward out the entire top side. They have perfect tracking of Dodoy, and even worse, Dodoy does not find the ward, so it's going to take a while before they can remove that tracker on him.
Yeah, really good ward coverage, and just keeping it inside of the jungle as well means they have so much more information to work with. And Kanji, oh, my friend, you have made a mistake. Very low
down
in that
a level. And this should open up Hong Kong Attitude to go for the Drake on the next rotation here. Kongyue is just so far ahead in these rotations. I'm pretty sure he's like 3 Krugs compared to 2 at this point. So just the tempo lead very much in favor of Hong Kong Attitude. And as we mentioned, Liyab are playing more of a tempo comp. This is a comp that wants to snowball based off the first pick. They don't really have advantageous late game matchups going forward, so the early game is especially important, and now Rock is going in for the kill.
Delivery on the showstopper. He tries to get out, but they keep bringing him right back in, and we get a first blood for Kongyue. This is definitely not how Liyab wanted to start this game off. Not only was it slow, but then they see the first blood. At the very least, they can try to get something on the bot side of the map.
It was beautifully done coming in from Rock. The timing was just right. They get the flash into the showstopper, bring him right into Moonfall, and ooh, okay, I kind of sweated on that. I thought there was a possibility. Eminem could have sniped that. They had vision. Definitely getting some Wei Xiao vibes from that. And we have seen Eminem get a couple of steals left and right here, but not able to succeed on that one. And Hong Kong Attitude are able to sit on this lead. I'm just wondering, how does Liyab actually get this comp going? So far, their solo lanes have been taking a beating. Their jungle is beyond in tempo. And their bot lane isn't really a lane where you can get action starting by yourself. So it just seems like Hong Kong Attitude will be able to pick their spots in the upcoming minutes.
Yeah, I think you need like a roam or something. I mean, and you do see Speltz coming down, but no flash on the Gwen. Oh, it's just ward coverage, that's all. I thought maybe they try to make a pick onto Hongso, set up for a Rift Arrow play. It's just not happening, and already Slaytrue making his way up into the mid lane, and it's superior warding, it's superior priority just about everywhere, and Hong Kong Attitude really showing up where it counts. And the crazy part about it is they've done it by just playing better in lane. Like, there hasn't been, apart from that one first blood pickup, there hasn't been like a big crazy rotation. It's just, all right, we just play better on 3 lanes and jungle.
Yeah, they're just making use of their counter picks. If you think about the draft, this is a pretty good demonstration of why Red Side is so coveted in this patch. You know, Red Side does have about a 55 to 45 edge in terms of the win rate, and we can see it does come down to this this meta being much more about priority, much more about lane counters, and red side does have the lead in that case. Hong Kong Attitude able to select counter picks in both of their solo lanes and just leave a bottom lane, which pretty much is a non-factor in this patch to Ezreal.
Oh, well, they did get a catch onto Hongso. That's going to be a big pickup. Doi combining with Aiden and Kanji to make a big play, but you know they can't get much else off this right now. The no dragon they've already taken it, but they will try to make inroads into this jungle or at least pick up some vision coverage. Nice solo kill.
That was a really good play. I think Hongso actually got a little bit greedy right there. He didn't immediately use his Frozen Tomb on himself and ends up not using anything. Like he definitely should have Frozen Tombed himself as soon as the chain started to land, held that on, and Liyab get a clean, perfect crowd control chain.
Well, it helps a little bit, but they're going to need a lot more of those if they want this game to start turning in their favor. Hong Kong Attitude still with a slim gold lead. The Dragon is about the only big difference there. Ooh, boy. That's going to be yet another showstopper. Spelt's trying to stay alive. Rock actually taking a lot of tower damage. Kind of misplays that, and he's actually forced to Haymaker for the shield.
That was a great slip and slash. Straight outside of the crowd control, dodges out on the Crescent Strike, and Spelt's still full HP.
Yeah, not a bad play in the counter dive. Like, Spelt's staying alive well, and yes, he's down in farm. Yes, he's in a counter matchup, but still, pretty good Gwen.
Just showcasing a lot of her power as well. Like, Gwen is a very difficult champion to nudge out of position if she doesn't want to move. She just puts her mist up, tons of extra resistances. It even follows her after the dash. That's how the ability works. So you're going to get that 5 seconds of complete untargetability from abilities outside of the mist, and also that extra resistances as well. So, you know, well played by Spelts, and a good showcase of why this champion is just so difficult to deal with on this current patch.
Yeah, this is the counter pick, and you're still doing pretty solid just to try and keep yourself healthy. So, you know, limiting down to that one pickup when you, admittedly, Spelts was pretty pushed up in that one. So far, so good. But Liyab, they need to do more than just make defensive plays. They need to do more than just get those picks. They need to capitalize on them. It's going to be very hard to do. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude are just lighting up their jungle at the moment. That bot side is littered with wards. So they're going to be able to get some tracking onto Dodoi whenever he goes down there. Right now, they don't see him, so they should guess that he's probably topside, waiting very patiently for a pickup onto Rock, but I don't know if he's ever going to get a good chance for it. Meanwhile, Rift Herald popped down bot. It looks like it's going to be a big party here. Even the teleport coming in, and they will not let Dawn escape. Aiden trying to walk away, but all 5 members of Hong Kong Attitude collapse.
This is a great play from Hong Kong Attitude, and I have to say, you gotta send Spelts to some acting lessons. He did not get an Oscar for that one. He backed out a little bit too far, and instantly Rock sniffed that there was something wrong here. They make the play on the counter side of the map, a full 5-man engage, and if you look at the scoreline right now, Kongyue is looking damn scary. This is the point in time where Kongyue can start sniping out your solo lanes.
Yeah, Kongyue stepping up with those 2 kills is really, really rough. He got the first play against this other one. And not only that, but after the play, after the tower and the kills, Hong Kong Attitude get themselves a dragon. So the Infernal locked up, and we have a Ocean Rift this time around.
Yep. You gotta give Spelts some classes in method acting. I think he was trying to bait a little bit too hard here. Rock instantly could tell something was absolutely wrong there. There's no way that this Gwen plays that far behind. And
Dojo just sits so long. Like, he burns so much time on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a little bit tragic to watch. Excuse me. I think a huge thing about top laners is your ability to sell.
It's important, right? It's a long lane, so there's a lot of out potential, but if you can bait somebody, you know, Rock is one of those players that you could conceivably think of as like, okay, he's going to try to go for the solo kill. He knows he's got a counter pick. He knows he can kill me, but Rock has played very, very controlled this game, right? Like, he's only really gone all in when he has Kongyue at his back, and that's worked 1 out of 2 times. but this is not the 1v1 me bro top laners that, that I think people are expecting.
Definitely hasn't been so far. Rock has, I think my favorite matchup is watching Rock go up against Top King. Those games were really, really fun. Both of them would just want to kill each other.
They're both very much like players that want to go in. And speaking of, we do now see the showstopper, and Spelt's trying to stay away. The mist thrown down.
Rock is
actually
down.
Stays alive long enough to take down Rock. Do Liyab have enough in the tank as Kanji was hunting for another kill? The answer is no there, but they still managed to take down Rock in the top. They do lose Spelts for it. And Hongsuo, meanwhile, says, ooh, free tower.
Goes to work on that objective, takes down about half HP. So overall, I still think a bit of a small lead from Hong Kong Attitude, but we do see Kanji now on the board with that, I believe, assist there. So, he actually got the kill in that play, so that's pretty good for the LeBlanc.
Really need to get like a couple more of those. But yeah, Liyab, they're not giving up in this strategy of trying to like roll forward and snowball on some of their big carry champions. It's just, unfortunately, it's happening at the same time that Hong Kong Attitude are getting a couple of kills. And critically, 3 of those on Kongye. That is exactly what you don't want to see if you're a Liyab fan.
Yeah, I feel like right now, Hong Kong Attitude have such an ease of execution. They also have ample targets on Liyab's side. Their burst combo is huge. Honestly, the only way I see Hong Kong Attitude losing a skirmish is if they blow all of their cooldowns on Gwen when she's in the mist. I think that's the only scenario where they can actually lose a 5v5. If they're grouped up and they just throw out the Frozen Tomb on someone, that target's going to die.
Yep. Ooh, Kanji playing with a little confidence here, and Spelt's coming in. So speaking of skirmishes, we're starting to see that play happen. Now that the map's opened up a little bit with those towers, Clement. Good ward coverage, though, means Hong Kong Attitude see this coming a mile away. True Shot Barrage is going to clip a couple of members. It does not defer them, and Slaytrue, what a brilliant ultimate turning into the combo there. Doidoi trying to find Kongi on the side, and the damage is coming on all fronts as Hong Kong Attitude managed to keep 2 members alive, blinking health bars, and they are still deleting members of Liyab, but there is some turnabout. Hongsuo does fall in this fight. Dawn is not done yet.
Doidoi.
Look at that combo. Doidoi coming in for the plays, but Rock says no, not today. Kanji says yes, maybe, and it's just all across the board. Eminem with an exit kill on Kanji. It's a 4 for 3, Clement.
Yeah, still a bit favorable for Hong Kong Attitude. You could see a great play from Don there at the end to get those return kills and bait Hong Kong Attitude further. It was actually a very clean 2-for-1 at the start of this fight, but Hong Kong Attitude decided to chase a little bit. Dawn baited them in, and that was a lot closer. I think Liyab, in this spot, they probably walk away feeling, yeah, that was not too bad. That was not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is a scrappy team, and we saw it showcased there. Like, that could have been another one of those bad situations, but they do manage to get more. Starts with Slaytrue. I love this placement of the Leona ultimate, but all of a sudden, after the kills go down, and HKA keep pushing, Liyab are like, you know what? I can pick these up. Dawn goes right into the back line with perfect execution, snipes one. Eminem chases a little deep here, and then Kanji just sets him up. And unfortunately, Rock is just too damn big, but still.
Yep, gets sniped out here. Eminem, though, almost gets all of the remaining kills. Kind of lucky to get out with everyone. Still,
Kanji trying to be fancy there.
Yeah, they could have just backed out with the 2-for-1, but this isn't too bad. I feel like the extra kills definitely does favor Liyab just a little bit because Kanji was a big part of that. He got all the assists here, and that does, creep sort of a win condition back into, potentially back here. Hongsuo gets the flash.
Yeah, big solar flare again from Slaytrue, and it burns 2 of Dawn's summoners. Hongsuo having to put himself in the frozen tomb here. Now Aiden's going to get targeted by the rest of the team. Dawn trying as much as he can to get the kill, but that Acathian Rain is just not strong enough. Hongsuo going low, finally going down, but Kanji invested so heavily in that. It's a 1 for 2. The double kill comes out for Eminem, and this Ezreal's online.
Yeah, that really wasn't worth it for Kanji. They lose a lot of potential on this Drake steal, and Hong Kong Attitude are going to be rather comfortable just snowballing another 2 objectives there. It was a great play from Hongsuo, getting the aftershock before Kanji could continue that chase, and it just meant that he was able to survive so many auto attacks.
Yeah, Hongso really like playing within an inch of his life sometimes, and Kanji made sure that he got put down, but unfortunately, Kanji also lost his life in that one. So just under 20 minutes into this game, we've got a 6-10 score line with Hong Kong Attitude in the lead by a healthy 5,000 gold. But Liyab are still fighting. It's a very scrappy team. They never give up. You gotta hand it to them. You gotta love it. But they just are being outclassed at the moment by Hong Kong Attitude.
I think the main issue with Liyab is they don't have a split pusher, and that just means they never can pick the spots that they want to fight themselves. Typically when you run this composition, you want to do catches on the side lane, but so far Hong Kong Attitude has been playing these objectives incredibly tight. They're not really split pushing that much, so Liyab hasn't been able to find an opportunity to really get that burst damage done on single targets. We're going to see if they can do something on Rock. This is pretty much the scenario I was talking about that they want to engineer. However, Hong Kong Attitude are actually using him as bait.
They are. And he's a pretty tanky bait, so hard to completely delete off the map. And Hong Kong Attitude know what their comp wants to do. They've been doing it quite well. I think Hongso has been kind of the sacrifice in some of these fights, but admittedly, he's also just being hard focused by Liyab.
That's true. I think he's the one that, from my observation so far of Hong Kong Attitude's nude split, he's been kind of the point that everyone's been attacking. He is a little bit slow sometimes defending himself. We've seen this in this game early as well. So, no, I expect teams to continue to just pile on him and just kind of bet that sometimes his reactions or reads are not going to be correct in this sense. I want to see if Kanji can get something done here.
So does walk away, but his back was slowed down. Yeah, and I think if you're HKA, you're like, all right, well, you know, our mid laner's behind, but whatever. We got a 4-0 Ezreal and a 3-0 Diana.
Yep.
And they just shrug.
They have a much superior teamfight composition, 5v5. Honestly, what I think Hong Kong Attitude are going to do, they're just going to chill until objectives come up, and then they're just going to hard force teamfights. It's going to be about Liyab to actually cut off Hong Kong Attitude before they're grouped. If you fight 5v5 when they're grouped, I don't think Liyab has a chance at all.
Trying to cut them off is certainly going to be the name of the game. Kanji needs to be able to find those picks in this game, and so far, a handful. Cleanup kills, maybe. But he also needs to get out safely. I mean, the threat's gone. See, there you go. He's in. He gets the change, but then there comes the Zenith Blade. Dawn into the back line. It's going to force Leona ultimate. A couple of teleports come through. And man, does Aiden want this. But the rest of his team says, I don't know about that one, Chief. Doidoi trying to run out to safety, but M&M carves off a flank of beef. And Kongye manages to take down Doidoi as well. And I think that was the opening they're looking for. Clement, I think we're in for a 22-minute Baron.
Yeah, unfortunately, Liyab had to try something super risky like that. I'm not sure about the communication, but it felt like Aiden just went in way too late after the rest of his team had already called quits, and that's going to cost him 2 kills, plus the Baron right here. I commend the play. It's the right thing to do. Definitely some comm issues on the back end of that one, and, you know, maybe just a little bit too little too late at this point.
Yeah. You know, it's not about the game plan when it comes to Liyab that falls apart. It's the execution. And we're just seeing them not really be able to pull off what they needed. Aiden goes extremely ham to try and set his team up for the kills, but they just weren't all in position, or they weren't all willing. You know, I think Dawn going into the back following, he's had much better positioning this game than he did on the Tristana previously, but it's definitely been a work in progress, I would like to say.
I think Liyab actually piloted this game pretty decently. It's just the draft was very difficult to overcome, and they just didn't get enough out of mid jungle. They got that 1 kill early from Doidoi. That was a really nice crowd control chain, but they didn't get much out of it afterwards. Weren't able to snowball the 2 Lees in the mid jungle, and I think that's what really cost them to get in this point right now. Like the bot lane is way too far ahead. Eminem is at that point where his mirror mana is already finished. He's hitting like a truck, even after the nerfs to Divine Sunderer, and the side lanes are completely uncontested. So, yeah, maybe they can find a pick on the split push. Rock again playing super safe on the top side, and he doesn't get punished. He doesn't He just walks around Gwen and LeBlanc. They don't get anything off that attempt. And they also lose the bot side.
Continually threaten right here. I mean, you can see HKA just not afraid to like throw out the Zenith Blade. Okay, maybe somebody steps too close. We'll get it. But at the end of the day, they just use the Baron buff. Rock teleports in, and they're able to freely pick up that bottom side inhibitor. Rotate down to mid. Let's do it all again. You know, I mean, normally at this point, you'd be saying like, oh, hey, you know, maybe this team wants to pick up a dragon and look to go for Soul Point. But they're going to end long before this is relevant, and Kongi is just going to pick it up for good measure.
We get this by himself. Completely uncontested at this point, and I don't even think Liyab can win the 4v5 if they, you know, if they call Hong Kong Attitude out on their positioning. It's not really going to happen. What I'm looking towards, though, is those pink wards in the inner Tribe Rush. This could potentially give Kanji an opportunity to keep some stragglers behind and let the other members of the team catch up.
Yeah, Kanji trying his hardest just to find something, or at least find a little bit of pressure, but this LeBlanc just never really got to the point where she could fully pop off, and another cheeky steal attempt coming out from Eminem. Why not? It's on a low enough cooldown.
Doesn't find it just yet, and as we can see, Speltz doesn't have a TP, and he also has to deal with the bottom side wave, so this should open up Hong Kong Attitude to just crush down on that top lane tower. It's the only tower, outer tower left on the map, and Dodo is getting a taste of that right now.
Yeah, Slaytrue managing to find him. Of course, he reconnects on the Sonic wave, but that's not what you want to do right now when your jungle is crawling with Hong Kong Attitude members. So they're just controlling so much of this map right now. And right now it's because they're able to throw their weight around, but before, you know, I really want to commend Hong Kong Attitude for their ward coverage this game. They've gotten so much out of it just everywhere, and you can see when they want to set up for a play, they make sure that they have as much information as possible. It's really smart League of Legends.
It's only one angle where Kanji can come from. He's not even trying to go from the side at this point. He knows that ward coverage is there. And I also want to point out that we have a super ham item coming in from Slaytrue, just going for the Zanyas. He wants to engage 24/7.
Hey, it's got armor. You can put yourself in stasis, go in and say, hey, here we go once again. Rock smashing Dawn into the face of his ally there and forcing Aiden to flash away. And I think they want to end it right here. Kongye picking up an unstoppable kill onto the Alistar as Dodoi also falls to Rock. And with the super minions charging through, Kongye freely moving into the base. Kanji cannot do nearly enough damage, forced to flash away, and I don't think he's getting away. Kongye says, get back here. And with just Speltz remaining, I can't see this lasting much longer, Clement. 27 minutes in, and Hong Kong Attitude will claim their first win of the summer split to improve to 1-1.
I gotta love the draft from Chowie this game. This was picture perfect. They really tore apart everything that Liyab wanted to do. Liyab wanted to play a tempo game, but all of their lanes were essentially countered out by this red side draft from Hong Kong Attitude, and then Hong Kong Attitude still had a coherent composition with all of these counters. They had that Diana set that is pretty much the go-to red side draft in the LPL right now if you leave it open like that. So strong wombo combo objective play coming in from Hong Kong Attitude. Great drafting from them. Very clear game plan. And it just felt like Liyab, they never really found an inside track into that. Great demonstration of the combo in this last play. You see the showstopper onto the moonfall, catching 4 people right there. And the needlework's not enough to keep everyone slowed down. You see the rest of the team just funneling in, and once those 2 ultimates landed, that was all she wrote. Oh, Dodoi doesn't even get the execute on that play. And Kanji, try as he might, he can't really fight through the counter pick, can't really fight through the lack of damage at the start here.
I love that. All 4 people jump onto Rock, and he's like, oh, this isn't fair. There's only 4 of you. And the rest of the cavalry arrives to clean up the mess. That was just, honestly, we've seen so much experimentation over the last couple of days, and obviously comfort picks coming out from a lot of the PCS teams. But Hong Kong Attitude just had straight up textbook League of Legends, and it worked out perfectly this time. Kudos to them.
A very clean draft. A lot of our criticisms for Hong Kong Attitude in the previous split was actually that they changed their draft up so often that it just felt like the team didn't even know how to play what they were given. But this time around, this draft was, I think it was one of their easier drafts to execute. You just play wombo combo team fight, and you just get ahead on the objectives and wait for the enemy team to run into you. So this time they matched a perfect draft with a perfect execution, and that's a perfect marriage.
Yeah, no, it certainly resulted in a good win for them. Liyab, I love what they try. I really do. And I think they've got a lot of room to improve. And sometimes I feel a bit like a broken record saying it, but like there are like nuggets I see in this team that can like really be polished up to shine. It's just going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of practice. It's certainly going to take better communication, because I think that is the big thing that is sinking this squad right now, is that they're not always on the same page for these fights. Sometimes some players want to go in, and some players don't want to go in, and you need to commit, even if it's the wrong call, right? Sometimes you can still pull off a victory as long as everybody's in sync. And I would like to see that improvement out of Liyab. I think if they can pull that off, if they can manage it, there's a lot more we can see from them, and I'm excited to see if they can do it.
Frankly, I think for Liyab, their best compositions are ones where Kanji has something scaling late game that can carry the majority of the damage. He is their best player, and I'm not sure about their current trend of tempo drafting. I don't think like their individual pieces are usually when you tempo draft, this is true for any team. The way you tempo draft is you basically say that I'm good enough in lane to get out ahead regardless of the counter pick. But unfortunately, I don't think that's true for Liyab at this point in time. So I would like to see them sort of shift their draft a little bit later. So far, their early games have been fine. They haven't been falling behind. You can tell in this draft, Kanji's still doing double the damage of his opponent mid laner, so that's still very good. But
yeah, I mean, that was the one matchup that felt like it was going pretty well for Liyab. The problem is he just never started to pop off on the solo kills, right? Like, it just wasn't enough. And also, yeah, there's not enough you can do. Hongso stopped being worth gold like 20 minutes in.
Pretty much. It was a rough game from Lissandra for sure, but covering your weaknesses is a very important thing in draft. And on a Lissandra, you can't really fail that hard. There's a certain limit of how bad it can go for you. So for Liyab, I do want to continue this trend. I think their damage graphs are going to look the same the entire split, with Kanji taking the lead here, but hopefully they can draft something a little bit later and let Kanji pop off. On the other hand, Kongyue really did his job here. Beautiful 6-0-6 gameplay, perfect KDA, and also he was just on point on the wombo combos. This is how you play a Diana. You have setup from your team. You had that double AoE crowd control coming out from Lissandra and Rock from the top lane, and he was able to execute every single time.
Yeah, he was where he needed to be when he needed to be. I think that was one of the big differences. Like, Dodoy was trying to set up plays on the Liyab side, and whether or not his teammates were able to really enable it, whether or not there was a good enough acting performance for Speltz on the top side, that's one thing. But the execution was there for Kongyue, and he definitely deserves that MVP. Well, it looks like we got one more game in the tank, so we'll be going to break for another 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. The PCS will return right after this.